trial of FTX founder and former CEO Sam Bankman-Fried beginning today, expected to last about 6 weeks. We'll see. He faces multiple charges of fraud and money laundering. Join us on what to expect and what it all means is Jay Clayon, is the former chair of the SEC, of course, the CNBC contributor. Good morning to you.
Morning. Can
you imagine an outcome that's positive for Sam Bankman-Fried?
Well, I think given what we've seen, that's difficult. But let's talk about what to watch here. And Becky just did a super job laying out the narrative in the Microsoft case. What is the government's narrative there? And I think what to watch for here is the narrative that the government is going to lay out. And the government's going to lay out a narrative, at the most simple level of, okay, I'm taking your money and I'm going to do A with it. I'm going to do something that you want me to do with it. When in fact, FTX, Sam, whoever, took it and did something very different, something for their own benefit. That's the narrative. And how do you establish that narrative? You tell it, you tell what it is, and then you have evidence. You have the witnesses and the documents.
So let's just talk about state of mind, though. Because I believe that one of the things you're going to hear from the defense is the whole idea of mens rea, the whole idea that you have to believe, as a juror, you have to believe that Sam knew that whatever he was doing was wrong, that he was breaking the rules, right? And the question is how you can establish that.
Right. Well, if you're the defense, you see that narrative. I tell you I'm going to do A, but I actually go and do B. The defense is going to say, actually, A and B are very similar. In fact, they're very close. And Sam thought that he was doing A. And it's up to the prosecution to say, you know what? No one could have thought that. And that's when you bring in your witnesses and your documents to say this establishes that that's not a realistic belief.
I'm curious what you think about the credibility of witnesses that have taken government deals, because one of the things that you have in this circumstance is most of the witnesses, I believe, are witnesses that have taken some kind of plea arrangement with the government already, in large part because I'm sure the government said, if you go and say, he's terrible and he did all these terrible things, we'll keep you out of jail. If you don't, you'll end up in jail. And so I always wonder how you think a jury in a white-collar case considers that.
Well, the jury is going to consider it. Before the jury gets to consider it, the prosecution grills those witnesses to make sure that everything that they're going to be saying in court is unassailable. Yes, I did some things wrong, or I was sloppy, or I was this, but everything I'm saying today is accurate. The biggest risk is when you have a witness that, use the technical term, is impeached on what they're saying. Right. That the jury doesn't believe that now that they're coming
Is it a problem that virtually, I think, almost every witness in this case, the likely important witnesses, will have been witnesses that took deals?
Of course. But that's almost all.
But that's not all the evidence. There's a lot of other evidence.
There's document. It's tying all of it together with the witnesses, the documents, all of those things have to come together in a package.
How strong do you think this case is, just based on what you've seen?
Look, I haven't gotten into the details of the evidence, but from what you read in the reports, the indictment and the like, it looks like a very strong case.
What do you think it means longer term for crypto? We were talking about the price of Bitcoin has actually moved a little bit higher, not as it relates to this, as it relates to the fact that maybe the government's going to stay open, and relates to this comment that Gary Gensler made that had the government shut down, there'd be no chance of a Bitcoin ETF. I don't know if you think there's any better chance that there's a Bitcoin ETF now that the government's open.
Well, we'll go to that specific question, but two things on crypto. One is this trial at a macro level demonstrates how important our regulatory environment is. No commingling of funds, customer assets are segregated. All of those things are designed to prophylactically prevent what is alleged to have happened here.
Well, yes, but the other piece of it is that this was a company that was doing its entire business offshore. Interestingly, one of the things that's happened, because we haven't figured out how to regulate crypto, and this is an argument somebody like a Brian Armstrong would make from Coinbase, you're looking at them open up businesses elsewhere, right? They're now doing a lot of business in Europe. They're trying to do business in other countries, in large part because we haven't really figured out what this is supposed to be.
And this is why I think the next step, we recognize that. The next step on crypto is incremental. Crypto is a technology. Let's see that technology in our financial ecosystem in a place where we're confident it's totally safe. So I believe that stablecoin, a well-constructed, well-regulated stablecoin, is one of those places. I also believe that we've decided every legal question around Bitcoin that is relevant. So as I've said before, that would make you think that a Bitcoin spot ETF is inevitable. We know it's not a securities.
Here's a question, though. You were the chair of the SEC. What happened between the time that you were the chair of the SEC and now, where you could stipulate to the idea that we know all the facts around Bitcoin?
Well,
were there new facts that came to light in the past since you?
There were. The classification of Bitcoin when I was chair of the SEC had already been decided when I got there. Okay, that it was a commodity, that the CFTC had regulated it as a commodity. I was very concerned that the trading of Bitcoin around the globe on exchanges that we had no insight into had a large amount of fraud going on.
Right.
And I was not comfortable, and the staff at the
By the way,
SEC
you were proven right.
Yes.
Okay. So now what's changed since then?
So there are a lot of people who do surveillance and the like who are confident that the Bitcoin spot market is what I would say has much greater efficacy than it did 3 or 4 years ago. Because
you've cleaned out the Sam Bankman-Frieds of the world? Is that the idea?
I think it's a number of things.
Finance?
But in the applications that the what I would say is well-respected financial institutions, new financial institutions or new financial providers have submitted to the SEC, they lay out the case for why trading in spot Bitcoin is more efficacious than it was in the past.